Hello there, everybody. Charles Hamaker here with Circling Seattle Sports, live from inside of T-Mobile Park. You can probably hear the leaf blowers as, it's 11:13 at night. The Mariners have won against the Phillies to take that series. We go more in depth than we will in this Around the Sound episode in our Mariners Game React, which will already be up on our YouTube channel, so be sure to check that out. But yeah, the sprinklers are on, there's folks cleaning, so it's obviously past when everybody has been here. But we've got an Around the Sound episode to do with two cameras, as I mentioned on the Mariners Game React episode. I'll pull up my notes over here. A decently busy day around Seattle professional sports on Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. As we end the month of August, we get near to the month of September. We kind of get near to the fall teams, the winter teams. We're approaching that. The end of the summer teams is coming, so it's that time of the year. We will start with Seattle Sounders training and a special announcement. We talked about it on our Sounders show, Sound Waves from the Sea, with Michael Martinez of Cascadia FC, but the Sounders officially acquiring Dejan Joveljić from Sporting Kansas City. They get an established striker who has reduced really well over the course of his professional career, which is great to see. Just considering all the struggles and the frustration that have surrounded the Sounders with this really rough patch that they've had since the World Cup break. With Joveljić, we've talked about him, but we'll go over here. 27-year-old becomes Seattle's newest designated player. 107 career all-competition goals across 11 professional seasons in the European and American top flights. He signs a 4-year deal with the Sounders through June of 2030, with a club option through June of 2031. As mentioned with the report from Nico Moreno, in order to remain roster compliant, Sounders midfielder Albert Rusnak was restructured. His current agreement with the club was restructured. The report from Nico Moreno was 2.5 years on an extension. I believe that is true, and that is big to do that. So obviously the Sounders had to get a bit creative. They do that to bring in Joveljić, 27-year-old, 8 goals and 1 assist in 20 games this year for Sporting Kansas City. Again, a really struggling Sporting Kansas City team, so I wouldn't necessarily judge him for any sort of lack of results, but you're obviously pretty happy with the results he's posted throughout the course of his career. It is a cash-for-player trade. The Sounders send $6 million over to Sporting Kansas City in exchange for Joveljić, who signs an extension with the Sounders. He will wear the number 9, and Jesus Ferreira will now wear the number 27. Was talking to some folks with the Sounders today. Ferreira always kind of wanted to wear the number 27, but when he first got to Seattle, Bradilio Rodriguez, if you'll remember that name, was wearing the number, so Jesus opted for number 9. Now he gets to switch. Joveljić gets the number 9. We're all happy. It's all fine. So we'll go over now. We go from I should go actually to some notes on training before I get to the press conference stuff. Defender Yeimar Gomez-Andrade was off on a elliptical bike the whole time, so he wasn't out there. Didn't see Jackson Reagan out there, but some positive reactions. Jordan Morris, Christian Roldan, Hassani Dodson were all out there practicing at least in the small-sided games in full force, which is nice to see, just considering all the injuries the Sounders have had. Roldan was out there, didn't see Pedro, did not see Jesus. Paul Arriola was working off on a different field separately. Yeimar, again, with the elliptical bike. Jordan Morris, in the press conference, actually, Brian Schmetzer confirmed that Jordan Morris will be available off of the bench. I don't believe he said so on Christian, but I believe the hope is that he will be ready to go. He did confirm that Joveljić will start on Saturday against the Chicago Fire. So that is it for the notes on Sounders training. We'll go over to Joveljić here, who, it was interesting, his press conference. He comes off confident, but not arrogant or cocky. He knows what his worth is. He knows what he brings to the table for this Sounders club. So we'll go to some clips of him during that press conference here.
Yeah, Dejan, welcome to Seattle. How would you describe your game, and what do you think you can bring that's maybe a little different than what the Sounders already have?
I'm here to bring goals and to help win the games. I'm the striker who works hard, who is helping the team in every possible way. I can score with left, right, head, doesn't matter. If Seattle is playing the way we played last couple of years, I'm gonna score a lot of goals, and I'm sure and I'm ready for it.
To ask a little bit about, well, can you share a little bit about those conversations with Albert and what today's training was like, introducing yourself to the team and having an opportunity to meet with the fans too. So what was that experience like?
Thank you for asking that. I wanted to say that I wanted to add as well for Albert. He's the one who helped for this deal to make it happen. And he was the one who was driving me today to the training facilities. So one more time, I want to say thank you to him. And also, I mean, the guys are great. They already started making jokes, Preki and Deki. So I like the connection, and hopefully we are gonna be successful in the next 4 or 5 years. And yeah, I'm very happy and ready and ready to go.
That is it for the press conference clips. I know that Craig Weibel, after the press conference officially ended, because he was going to answer the question, but it got clipped, did say that they are working on something else before the window closes in 6 days. So, there's some thought about adding a winger. We'll see what the Sounders are able to do before the transfer window closes. At least reporting-wise, the Joveljić signing was pretty quiet until Fabrizio Romano broke it the other day. But the Sounders have been working on this for a couple weeks. Craig Weibel talked about how they were working on this with Sporting Kansas City for a while, and when they cracked the door open to a maybe, they were able to get the deal through. So I'll include that clip right about here.
That he was available, and all it took.
Yeah, I mean, we constantly reach out. I mean, that's kind of the normal for us, is throwing darts at the board, right? So we have a laundry list of players we're interested in. It's just a matter of knocking on doors, really. That kind of that same old of who's available, who can we get. This one was a little different in the sense that they just kind of kept slamming the door in our face. And then recently things changed, and the ability to be opportunistic in a really, really quick manner was essential. When they cracked the door open, we kind of kept kicking it, and we just kind of persevered in that sense. But Kansas City was great to deal with. To be honest, David Lee was, his communication throughout was simple. It was direct. We knew exactly where we stood from a couple months ago when the answer was get away from me to, I think he said the word maybe once, and I didn't let him forget it. And we just kind of kept reminding him that maybe can turn into for sure. And thankfully we were able to get it there.
To continue, but I lost it. But yeah, it's, just to show you, they are working on stuff, as Brian Schmetzer said through the press conferences. Just will be interesting to see if they're able to get anything done ahead of the transfer window closing, and what it would be that the club would be adding. So we'll move over to the Mariners. As mentioned, we cover it more in depth in our Mariners Game React episode, but nice for the Mariners to get a series win against this tough Philadelphia Phillies team. The Mariners now improve to 64-69. I believe it's 64. Yep, 64-69 with a 4-1 victory over Philadelphia. They are 2.5 games back of the Houston Astros for first place in the American West, a half game back of second place in the Texas Rangers, who lost tonight in Chicago against the White Sox, 3 games back of the last wild card spot, still needing to jump the Orioles the Rangers, and the Guardians for that last spot. Highlights from this Mariners game include Cal Raleigh with a solo shot in the bottom of the second to tie things up. George Kirby goes 7 2/3 innings of really solid work. Just the 1 run allowed, 9 punch-outs in this one, just the 1 walk. He looked fantastic. We'll go to his press conference here talking about this game and the adjustments that he made throughout the course of the week.
What was working so well for you to be able to efficiently navigate a really tough lineup that came into this week, as one of the hottest teams in the sport?
Just a lot of work during the week of, getting my mechanics where I need to be, and then kind of going into the game, just not thinking about it and let it flow and just be free and, just let it eat the whole game. So it's kind of that was my plan today.
Fastball was 98, 99 on the 4-seam, and it seemed like it had a ton of life. Did you recognize that early? And then by having that, it seemed like everything else you threw just played so well off of that.
Yeah, I recognized it pretty early with the Schwarber strikeout. I knew I kind of had that in me today. So, but I'm really happy with the way the cutter's been working. It's been a swing or not, it's just a great setup pitch to kind of make some room for my other pitches. It just kind of makes the 4 even better after that pitch.
Using both the splitter and the changeup today, it looked like.
No, just splitter now.
Just the splitter.
Splitter. Because you have StatCast all messed up.
Yeah,
they can't figure out what you're throwing, I guess.
Yeah, just splitter.
How much did that pitch help you get out of a few jams as well, or get out of a few innings rather than jams?
That's one pitch I've been working on the whole year to kind of get back in the arsenal. So, when I get it down there in the zone, it gets a lot of swing and miss. The speed differential for my heater is just way better. It's just another weapon that people kind of got to look out for. Changeup was good, but that's kind of the ground ball pitch with the splitter. That's the weapon there. So, just kind of use it, early, late, just kind of get it back in the groove.
Is it the bottom on the pitch or the speed differential or the combo?
I think it's a little bit of both, yeah. Just the more more just vertical drop it has, and just, a couple miles an hour off the changeup. So, just keep building on it.
So there's George Kirby. Dom Canzone comes up in the clutch in the 7th with the bases loaded and 2 outs against a left-handed reliever. Hits a ball to left center field for a single, drives in 2 runs. That's a big moment. Gets the left on left, gives the Mariners some insurance. They go on to win 4-1, get the series win against the Phillies, and we'll look tomorrow morning to go for the sweep in the matinee series and homestand finale. To continue on with the Mariners news, one roster move for Seattle. J.P. Crawford activated this morning. Leo Rivas option to AAA Tacoma. The Mariners get back a veteran infielder with Colt Emerson injured. And really just kind of relying on some unproven names on the left side of the infield, especially with Brendan Donovan on concussion injured list. They get JP back. He plays third base tonight as Brock Rodden plays short, makes a couple nice plays defensively, gets a single in this one before the Dom Canzone 2 RBI knock. So it's nice to have JP back. So that'll wrap it up for Mariners news. We go over to the Kraken here, who kind of have a trio of things to look at here. First of all, we'll look at the preseason dates that the Kraken made available to their media as we prepare for, this is season 6 for the Kraken. The first day of rookie camp is September 11th. Then the Kraken will have the rookie showcase in Abbotsford September 12th and 13th. The first day of training camp is September 17th. Obviously, the rookie camp and the training camp days are at the Kraken Community Iceplex in Northgate. Preseason game against Vancouver September 19th at 6 p.m. at Climate Pledge Arena. Then they go to Calgary on September 20th for a 5 p.m. preseason game. Here against Calgary September 24th at 6:40, and then close out the preseason schedule September 26th at the Vancouver Canucks with a 4 p.m. start. We move over Continuing with the Kraken news, the Kraken loaned goaltender prospect Kim Saarinen to Liiga, the league that he has been with previously. There had been some thought that Saarinen would be ready to make the jump to North America, but ultimately the Kraken say, hey, we want you to get more playing time, give you a league where we know you're going to get playing time, and the thought process is that he'll be coming to North America after this current season. So a note there on a prospect, and then we go over to one last thing to wrap us up with the Kraken is the Kraken Common Thread Nights. They have been announced. I'll put up the graphic here for the Kraken Common Thread Nights. Always really fun to see the artists who the Kraken get for these, as well as just to see the designs that go with it. So Hispanic Heritage Night, artist Andrew Gomez IV, that's October 22nd. Indigenous Peoples Night, I really love the Indigenous Peoples Night design here by Joe Seymour. That will be December 10th. AANHPI Night is Hoa Huang on January 12th. If I get any of these wrong, I apologize. We'll get these right. Pride Night is Teresa Grasecki on February 3rd. Black Hockey History Night is Jesse Lipscomb on February 22nd. Women in Hockey Night by Yumi Reed on March 11th. And then Green Night, Charles Spitzak on March 30th. They always do such a good job with these. There are, of course, some other Common Thread Nights with Military Appreciation Day on November 7th and Kraken Hockey Fights Cancer Night on November 23rd. There are special tickets for some of these events, so be sure to go to the Kraken website, check out the Common Thread, different pieces that they've got, the links that they've got for that, and you'll be able to look at some of the offers that the Kraken have available. So we'll continue over here with the Seahawks, and it's not a positive sort of day to talk about Seahawks news. Some injuries that were suffered in their preseason game this past weekend against the Titans on the road, and so some of those coming. I think we talked about Jake Bobo's injury the other day on Around the Sound, but we've also got some stuff that happened in the actual preseason game after the joint practices. So we'll go here. The Seahawks signed 3 free agents while placing Bud Clark and Mason Richman on season-ending injured reserve. If you go on injured reserve before the season, you are done for the year, is my understanding, which is really tough. So safety Bud Clark and offensive lineman Mason Richman from this year's draft class go on injured reserve 2 days after they both suffered significant injuries in Seattle's preseason loss to the Titans, with 3 open spots on the 90-man roster, including one after waiving running back Anthony Hankerson earlier today. Back on Monday. The team signed tackle Derek Graham, safety Tyshim Johnson, and running back Justin Jones. Clark broke his ankle on Seattle's first defensive snap in that game against the Titans. Richmond was a 2025 draft pick, limped off the field in the first quarter with what ended up being a serious injury. Obviously, Jake Bobo went down with a knee injury in Friday's joint practice with the Titans, which is really tough there. So that is the Seahawks news as they continue their preseason and get closer to the end of that. Go over here to Salmon Bay. We're adding the minor league teams, the semi-pro, however you want to call them. Not necessarily massive news, but a nice recognition. Salmon Bay FC is honored by the USLW League as the Western Conference Organization of the Year, which is really cool to see, and it makes sense. The national champions, this team that has fantastic branding, has great support here in the Ballard Inner Bay area, and that had just this magical run. And I've said this for years with the Ballard folks, and it continues with the Salmon Bay folks, but they run things so well with Ballard and Salmon Bay. As someone who's covered the pro teams in this city, the big events, Winter Classic, the World Cup, All-Star Week, obviously the Mariners playoff run last year, it doesn't feel that much different covering Ballard and Salmon Bay from covering the pro teams. And that's a testament to those folks They put on a great experience every match day. The players talk about the professionalism here, so it's really great to see that, to see them get honored, and especially fun to see these sort of awards rack up for the club after Amir Hussain, former UW player, was named as the Western Conference Player of the Year. So cool for Salmon Bay to be honored there. We'll go over here to UW Baseball, who made an extension on pitching coach Connor Lambert. Sorry, I had to make sure I got that right. Connor Lambert. When I talked to head baseball coach Eddie Smith 2 years ago, he praised Connor Lambert's ability to work with his staff and really be key for the Huskies. He signs a contract extension earlier today. He's been big during his 2 seasons. Washington's produced 4 all Big Ten pitchers, including Max Banks, who went in the MLB draft back last year. It's fun to look at some of the names. Jackson Thomas, Hayden Lewis, Tommy Brandenburg, Noah Kenny have all been big for the Huskies the last few years. Some big relievers as well. Isaac Yeager, who we interviewed a while ago, Gunnar Nichols, Bryce Johnson, all big. And so, Washington looking obviously to kind of get that continuity and make sure Connor Lambert doesn't go somewhere else. And they bring back some talented arms. Justin Timms comes back from injury. Liam Learman, Tyler Walker, and Cooper McBride will all be big for Washington this year. They'll look to, continue being in the Big Ten tournament. They've won some important Big Ten games during the tournament, knocking off Ohio State and Michigan this past year. So I'm excited for Husky baseball. It's always interesting because that's more in the spring than anything else, and not like right now like we're having, obviously, because it's college. But, obviously important to note that with Coach Lambert. And then we go over to UW men's basketball, who announced their non-conference schedule. Always interesting to get the non-conference schedule. Of UW's 11 regular season non-conference games, 7 of them will take place in Seattle, including 1 exhibition game hosted at Alaska Airlines Arena. Washington will host Washington State for an exhibition on August 25th, starting the new season a week later against Colgate at Heck Ed. Washington then hosts Mississippi Valley State on November 9th in Seattle before hitting the road for the first time with Utah in Salt Lake City on November 14th. UW comes home for a Thursday matchup against Utah Tech at Alaska Airlines Arena on November 19th, heads across the Pacific Ocean for the Southwest Maui Invitational Crown November 23rd to 25th, playing against BYU. They'll round out their non-conference action with 4 games in Seattle, beginning with a meeting against Norfolk State on November 29th before hosting Southern Utah on December 8th. Baylor makes a return trip to Washington after last season's battle in Waco, Texas against the Huskies, as Washington faces the Bears as part of the inaugural Seattle Holiday Classic on December 19th. The non-conference schedule ends at home hosting Cornell on Monday, December 28th. So that is it for Around the Sound. I hope this camera's still on. If it's not, that'll end August 25th, Around the Sound, Circling Seattle Sports' daily Seattle sports wrap-up show, live from T-Mobile Park tonight. As you can hear, the leaf blowers are very loud, so I hope the audio is good on this. Until we see you next time, take care of yourselves, be well, and do whatever you can to make today a great day.
Hello there, everybody. Charles Hamaker here with Circling Seattle Sports. I'm joined by Jen Barnes of Rough and Tumble that we happen to be at right now. Yeah. Jen, why don't you talk to me a little bit about what we're announcing today, which is our partnership.
I'm so excited about this. First of all, I just want to say thank you. I think all of us here at Rough and Tumble are big fans of what you and your team at Circling Seattle Sports does. And so, I know you know this, but when you came to me with this idea, it just seemed pretty natural. And it's not just me. I think a lot of people in the sports community in Seattle also really respect you and your team. So it's exciting to kind of see these two things melding together, and we're really excited to start implementing some of the things, and then hopefully seeing you guys a little bit more often.
Yeah, and so with what Jen says about seeing us more often, you know, we've got a few things in the works, but you'll see watch parties here. We'd like to do a few different of our community drives, which you'll hear about here in a little bit. From now, you know, we've got to make our announcements one at a time. I can't drop everything.
Not everything
Right.
all at once.
But this has been a home for a lot of our team, whether it's myself, our friend, our photographer Liz is behind the camera. Liz is here often, so our team has kind of adopted this place kind of like our own since I saw you at our soft launch. So, you know, it's been great to have that support. And you know, in a lot of ways, and part of the reason I wanted to do this was the Rough and Tumble embodies a lot of what Circling Seattle Sports wants to do. Obviously with women's sports, with the storm and the rain, but just being, you know, having the game on, every game on.
Yep.
You know, how much of that, you know, did you see a line kind of even before this idea was mentioned when I first met you?
I think it's always felt like that. I mean, you and your team were here on opening night, and you just feel like you're part of the space, so it felt like really natural. And the fact that you actually cover all of the sports really makes your group stand out. So you are always covering all the rain games, all the storm games. You'd have women's softball, you'd have women's basketball, you'd have women's hockey. We love it. So all of those things, and obviously passionate M's fans, passionate Hawks fans, and passionate Kraken and Sounders fans. So really, from our perspective, those two things meshed really well.
So, I mean, you heard it from Jen herself, but this will be our home for all of these events, whether it's you can't make it to these games at home, we're always going to direct you to Rough and Tumble, and obviously the games on the road as well. All these, I mean, we're talking about the rain. They've got their schedule out finally, but this will be our home for that.
Great.
The storm games on the road, this is our home.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes.
I love it.
And when I mentioned it to Jen when I first had this idea come up, I had this idea come up wearing a pink wig.
Yes, you did.
Ahead of Megan Rapinoe's final regular season home game for the Reign this past year.
Yeah.
I told her it's because I wanted this to feel genuine.
Yep.
I wanted a connection to feel genuine, and it does. So that's what this is. Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, and I'm so excited to finally announce this partnership.
I can't wait.